Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted Podcast, as always, presented by the great folks over at Titan MRI. I imagine Joe will have a great tailgate for the game Saturday. And, of course, we're coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And that is, noon games, I know why some people like it, some people don't. I mean, like I said before, the players love them, the coaches love them, fans don't like them at all. Media boys love them, but it certainly is different in terms of tailgating. If you want to have a true tailgate, you're showing up at 8 in the morning, and that'll be something that happens in Baton Rouge where they play at 11 o'clock. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Today's great guest today, great guest most days. We were really lucky, the people that are willing to do this show. Of course, Coach Spurrier every Monday, and we'll have him again on Monday to talk about the Missouri game. But today, Danny Wuerffel is going to join us, and look forward to that. Love Danny. Really, I think the most genuine guy I know. And look forward to him. We'll be on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, and we'll play Yes, Nowhere, Maybe with him, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. It feels like we're kind of back on schedule. When you have a hurricane go through, and of course we're all just riveted to the TV, and everybody's got the days off because of the hurricane possibly coming through Gainesville, and it didn't, but still, you kind of lost track of time. And during football season, it does happen a little bit. It feels like we're finally back to, all right, here's what's Wednesday, here's what's Thursday, here's what's Friday. But boy, I talk about this all the time, and I'll never stop talking about it because it continues to happen. One day you wake up, and it's Monday morning, and you go, man, all right, got a few days till the Gator game. Next thing you know, you wake up, and it's Thursday night, and you're like, what happened? The week just went by, but that's the way it is. Everybody's busy with getting in their schedule, so that's what we have going on right now. What we also have going on, as usual, is the hand law starting lineup to kick us off here. And as you know, the starting lineup, as always, is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. We appreciate Chris Hand and all he does for this podcast, and we appreciate all the people that are involved in it. Man, we really got some great sponsors, and I know that football season we have a lot of commercials, and I think hopefully they'll stay with us. But we love it. So here we go. The Hand Law starting lineup. Number one is the series in Florida, Missouri, which has not gone Florida's way all the time, about half the time. Since Missouri joined the league, which everybody was like, what, Missouri? Why would you want to go to Missouri? I still don't totally understand it. However, I do understand that the bottom line is you extend your footprint, and that's what the SEC was ahead of the game as far as that goes. Going to Missouri, going to Texas A&M. Now everybody's trying to extend their footprint, including, as you know, the Big Ten, getting UCLA and USC to come aboard. And we'll see where other schools go, or other conferences go. But when they came aboard, we were kind of like, I don't get it. I've been to Missouri several times for basketball, gymnastics. I was actually in St. Louis for gymnastics. Not my favorite state. It's nothing wrong with the people there. I actually like the people. It's just not my cup of tea. Anyway, so Missouri actually leads the series 6-5. Now, you kind of throw out the game that Coach Spurrier was talking about Monday, the Sugar Bowl in 1965. But since they joined the league, it's 5-5. And the weird thing is, I think I might have talked about this Monday, but the weirdest thing about this series is if you throw out last year's game, which of course came down to a 2-point conversion at the end of the game, it is the average margin of victory is 21.1 points. So one team tends to show up and the other team doesn't. We go back to the Dan Mullen's first year. Florida was not ready to play against Missouri because they just lost to Georgia and they really wanted that game badly. the game up there in what was it, 2009 or 2020, and Missouri wasn't ready to play. It was very cold, but it was really nice actually. So it's kind of a weird series in that way. And look, there's a lot of angst. I don't want to say angst. Angst isn't the right word. But Eli Drinkwitz doesn't like Florida because of what happened with Mullen. But he didn't like Mullen, I think, more than anything. But, it's a big game for them. Let's face it. Florida being a 10-point favorite seems excessive to me, but I also understand. I always talk about how the Swamp is worth 5 points, maybe 6 on the Vegas odds. Probably more than most places are. But again, we'll see what happens. Trey Dean is starting the game according to the lineup chart that they put out. I can't think of what depth chart they put out, roster they put out, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully having a week off got him a little healthier, got him where he's not as banged up as because I think he may still lead the team in tackles, but I don't know why that music is driving me crazy. It's just distracting the crap out of me. But I'll get back on target. Here we go. All right, but we'll see if he having a week off and he's maybe paid more attention. Maybe he did more film study. Maybe he is going to try to make some good plays. We'll see. Nobody knows for sure. Now, we talked about this with Anthony Richardson. Only he knew what was bothering him or what was not going well. And Trey Dean, maybe he'll play a little bit smarter, He's a good athlete. Again, this goes back to the same thing we talk about with a lot of these Florida players. Really good athletes, but they don't play the game the right way. And maybe he will. I'm hoping he does. I'd love to see him have a big game. I really would. I'd love to see 2 weeks ago's villain become this season's or this game's hero. Anyway, they have all right, number 2 on the Hanlaw starting lineup. They have named the captains: Trevez Johnson, Ricky Pearsall, Keon Zipper, Donovan McMillan are the captains for this game, and they do game captains, which is kind of cool. It is the line did open at 10, and then it went to 11.5. It's now back to 10.5. So, and again, this is what Vegas is doing. Vegas does this for every game. They go, hey, how can we get people to bet on it? Well, let's give Missouri 10. People are going to bet. No, they're not. They're betting on Florida. Okay, great. It goes up to 11.5, and then everybody goes, oh, that's too many points. They know what they're doing. There's a reason why all these big buildings are in Las Vegas, as you know. But it is going to be an interesting game for Florida. It's a very important game for Florida, and it's a very important game for Missouri. Look, they beat Florida last year, basically the same guys that are on the Florida team now. It's weird that the defense played well, but on the other hand, it's not that weird that they played well last year in that game because they weren't playing well in any other games. But they did play well in that game. Lost the game in overtime, so overtime would have been like 24-23, so it was 16-16 or whatever it was in regulation. So the defense played good in that game. Part of it's because Missouri is not great on offense. Their quarterback, Brady Cook, is a young guy. I think he's a sophomore. He's okay. They do have a great receiver, Dominic Lovett, leads the SEC in passing yards or receiving yards and number of receptions. They're a good team. Florida's better than them. Doesn't mean Florida's going to win. We'll see. I hope they do. We'll see. All right, number 3 on Hanlaw starting lineup. I want to talk a little bit about what homecoming used to be and what it is now. And look, these things happen. They organically evolve. Homecoming is still a big deal to people at the University of Florida. For example, tonight they're having the Hall of Fame induction. That's a big deal. A lot of people going to be there. I heard Joe Hayden's bringing a total entourage with him. Unfortunately, Mike Zanino won't be able to be there because he's hurt. And because he's hurt, he's staying with the team. They're in the playoffs. But I don't really understand that. But He won't be there, and there was one other person. Sam Riffus won't be there for some reason. I don't know why. He was going to be the Ben Hill Griffin Male Award winner. But it's a big deal for them. It's a big deal for people that are trying to raise money, having a lot of dinners and stuff like that. But for the average just Gainesvillian or somebody who comes in, homecoming it's lost a lot of its luster, and we all know why. Gator Growl's gone. I mean, I know they're having it. Danny Wuerffel is going to host it, which is the only reason really to go for me. And we'll talk to him about that a little bit later. But, it's just it's at the O'Connell Center now. I mean, they used to almost fill up the swamp back in the old days. Then again, back in the old days, it was a different world for everything. But between that, the parade, of course, I didn't go to the parade. The parade should be over by now. But I don't think it has the same luster. I know, homecoming, it all changed in 96. 96, Florida started playing SEC opponents. And that changed the way you kind of looked at everything. And I don't know that maybe just where the schedule fell. I don't know how it changed. But it used to be you'd play Northwest Louisiana or somebody. You'd play a game where everybody could go home happy, the alumni. Now it's the way it's scheduled. It could have been that when they went to the extra game, that's where it happened. But the bottom line is Florida always plays SEC teams now, and you're kind of into the game more than the homecomings. And that's I think the biggest reason it's changed is you look at Missouri and it goes, oh, well, it's homecoming. Oh, I don't care about that. I care about whether they can win the game. That's my feeling about it anyway. Number 4, I have a theory on the hand-loss starting lineup. I have a theory, and that theory is as follows. I think college football and the people who telecast it, TV stations, TV networks, I think they are trying to make it more and more like the NFL. And by that, I mean, we talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. There's actually been a movement to maybe make it so that you don't have the clock stop on incomplete passes to tighten the game up, get it within that 3-hour window. Most of us are like, no, that's why we want the college game to be a little bit different than the program. We want that. But I've noticed this pattern, and for one thing, they avoid the Thursday games now because once the NFL went to Thursday games, they've started to avoid it. They still have some. They didn't have any this week, as I told you. But I do think that they're trying to have the big noon window now. It used to be, the afternoon window was a bigger deal, and the night window was a huge deal. There would be multiple great games on. Now it just feels like they're making everything, or the better games are the noon games. Like they want to kick it off, which is what the NFL with the 1 o'clock games. You got a ton of games there. And you have like 4 or 5 in the 4 o'clock hour. There's usually one on TV, and then you go to the night game. Well, which is one game. I feel like that's where the networks are going with, because the NFL makes a lot of money. We all know that. So, but look at this. This is what you got, the nooners, as I call them, on Saturday, tomorrow, or today if you're listening to this Saturday. You got Florida and Missouri, which is a big game for all of us. Not that big in the national scale, but it's still a decent game. Tennessee at LSU, which is a huge game. That's going to be the hard part for me, is trying to figure out, where do I go? Do I flip? Do I flip it over? But Tennessee LSU is going to be hard not to watch. TCU Kansas, which is where game day is, 2 undefeated teams. That's a pretty big game. Arkansas at Mississippi State, another big game. And Oklahoma, Texas, which is not that big a game, but it's a big game. It's like if Florida and Georgia weren't very good this year, it'd still be a big game because it's Florida, Georgia. It's a unique kind of game. And so they're all crammed into that noon hour. And for a guy like me who's got 2 TVs, I feel blessed, but I'm still going to miss a lot of football that should be fun to watch. But I do think they're cramming it into the noon hour the way that they're trying to follow the NFL model like they do in a lot of things. Finally, number 5, exciting time right now because the playoffs started today. In fact, the Rays are playing. It was weird to be on the elliptical today, and all of a sudden they go to a baseball game. I'm like, well, oh, that's right. There is playoff baseball starting already. Braves winning on Wednesday night or Tuesday night was mind-blowing trying to figure, because once they lost that one game on Monday, I'm like, uh-oh. But they got it done on Tuesday, so they won't play until Tuesday of next week. So they basically, pitching-wise especially, got a full week off. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the Braves. I'm excited about a lot of these games. Mets, Yankees. I mean, the Dodgers. I still think the funny thing is the Astros are the favorites to win it all in Vegas, but I think the Dodgers should be the favorites. The Astros were about 4 games difference there. But again, the Astros were in the World Series last year. That may be why. I think the Braves are third, so they're taking the teams that were in it last year and giving them better odds. So anyway, but I'm just excited that we have that in addition to college football going on right now and NFL as well. So it's just a great time to be alive this time of year. All right, that is going to do it for our Hand Law starting lineup. We thank Hand Law very much. We got to take a break, and when we come back, it's going to be fun on the Big Mill Zoom line to talk to our friend Danny Wuerffel here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley's Story Time is brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike. and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150, and all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to Homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast, as always presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And I know somebody who's got some equipment that he's missing that's in the Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Our guest today, the great Danny Wuerffel. Daniel, how are you today? Does your mother call you Daniel?
I don't ever get called Daniel unless I'm probably in a good bit of trouble. So most everybody calls me Danny. Every now and then I'll get a Dan, but my wife doesn't like that at all, so she'll correct it. So don't make that mistake.
Yeah, it's funny. My friend Andrew Copeland, one day I called him Andy on the golf course just to see if it got under his skin, and it did. I can tell you that. But it's great talking to you, Danny, and it's great to – I know with the hurricane coming here last week, you had all kinds of areas to be worried about. The Panhandle where you grew up, if it took a left and went to New Orleans, if it went through Atlanta, if it went through Gainesville where you spent so much time. That must have been kind of stressful to watch that all take place.
Yeah, it was, and it brings back all those memories of what we went through in Hurricane Katrina many years ago. And my sister now lives in St. Pete, just off of St. Pete on a little island, which could have been really devastated. So, and it's tough. And then, you kind of hope it doesn't hit you or your loved ones, but then you also recognize that if it doesn't, it's hitting someone else's. And so you want to be thoughtful and prayerful and just hopefully people's experiences like ours, where those who are hurting, many others can come alongside and really help during a tough time.
Yeah, and obviously you've continued all your work with Desire Street Ministries and are having your golf tournament the week of the Florida-Georgia game. And I was thinking about it. I think 2014 was the first one. Didn't you have that one in at Pelican Bay?
We've been doing this. It'd be the 12th one now, so that wouldn't have been the first one. But we did it several times at TPC, and we'll probably be moving back next year to Florida. We've done it at Amelia Island. We played golf at Ponte Vedra, and we've been at Sea Island the last few years in Georgia.
Yeah, I'm guessing you've got plenty of people who want to play, and it's such a great cause. And I know you have a great auction the night before and stuff like that. And just tell people a little bit about it, so if they're still interested in trying to play in it, they can.
Yeah, well, first, everything you can find at desirecup.com, all the information. But we're having, the greats from Florida and Georgia show up. Coach Spurrier and Dooley come each year. A lot of former players, and it's a chance to have fun. A nice banquet on that Thursday night, and then a kind of competitive Florida versus Georgia golf event on Friday morning. And all the money goes towards Desire Street, which supports under-resourced neighborhoods all over the Southeast. And so that's sort of our main thing. Still have some spots for people to come. Would love to get some more golfers. So if you're inclined, it's a beautiful, beautiful course, Sea Island, Georgia. And then for those of you that can't come, we have what we call the 19th hole, where you can still support the event from a distance. So all that's at desirecup.com, and we're looking forward to that. And I don't know, Pat, if you've got in your notes the new edition this year. Do you have that on your notes as a question?
No, I don't.
Pickleball?
Yeah. Pickleball, yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, well, some people know that the fastest growing sport in the country is pickleball. It's a very weird name for a sport, but it's actually a fantastic sport that anybody can play at any level, all the way up to like tremendous, talented professional players now that are making a living doing it. I've fallen in love with this sport. I absolutely love it. And we're hosting, alongside our golf tournament, we're calling it Pickleball, kind of themed after like the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl. And we're pairing professional pickleball players, yes, there are, and they're amazing, with celebrities that went to the same college. So I'm playing with the pickleball pro Kyle Yates that went to Florida. Yep. Former tennis star Ryan Sherry from Florida is now a phenomenal pickleball player, pro, playing with Brandon Seiler. And then we've got a lot of other celebrities from around the country playing. It's going to be live streamed, a lot of attention, and just another way to raise money and have fun.
Pickleball is very much like the sport. I used to play this sport called paddle tennis on the beach.
Yeah.
Beach paddle tennis is very much like that, with a smaller court and everything. In fact, my first wife was a national champ in the paddle tennis, beach paddle tennis, and I actually won the novice championship. So maybe I'll come over there and whip up on some of you guys.
Let's go.
That was before two knee replacements. So
a lot of good players in Gainesville, and you don't have to move that much, so you can play even with bad knees.
Yep. All right. How are your knees, by the way?
I'm fortunate. My knees are doing really well. I did have my right knee scoped when I was at Florida, and every now and then that's tough. My struggle, I've got arthritis in my right shoulder, pretty bad from all the years of throwing and lifting, and I've got very limited range. I'll probably have to have a reconstruction, but the beauty of pickleball is you don't have to swing high, hard, hardly ever. Everything's kind of in front of you and low, so my body's hanging up. That's the benefit, Pat, of being a backup primarily in the NFL, is I didn't get hit a lot as I got older. So that's working out well for me now.
Absolutely. Let me ask you what you see with the whole issue of concussions now in the NFL, obviously with what happened with Tua, then Cameron Brate this weekend. I don't know whether you ever had to deal with a concussion at the NFL or in college, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, yes, I think almost anyone that's played has had to deal with some level of concussions. But I think one of the biggest things that people don't really get is that the more trouble comes not just from the concussions, but from the repetitive bumps to the head over time. So it's kind of both things. And in that case, it's the players that started really young, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds started playing, and especially in older days, there was a lot more hitting in practice. I think they're doing a much better job now of limiting the number of hits. But I think it's a real thing. I've got a lot of friends that I know that many people listening would know that are struggling in their 40s and 50s, and some other friends that have really, really struggled. So I think it's a real thing that you cannot diminish. I think that there are ways to take better care of players kind of at every level, and I think people are making those moves. I think I've kind of landed personally where I kind of more advocate for, in the younger years, the flag football. And then I think a lot of the research is saying if you wait till you're 14 years old before you start doing tackle, that can help those important years of brain development. So it's a real thing, man. And I think, football is, I think, the greatest game ever and teaches you so many things. And I think is continuing to learn how to better care for the players.
On another subject that is getting a lot of discussion, I've told this story several times that I was doing a story on whether players should get paid, right? And I said, well, I'll go to Danny because I know Danny will say, of course not. I believe in the integrity of the game. And I wanted to write that story, and I went to you, and you went, yeah, absolutely, we should get paid. There should be some kind of way to get a stipend or a cut of the thing. And I went, oh, well, I got a different story than I thought. Can you imagine what it would have been like now for you, to the kind of NIL deals you could have gotten?
I'm wondering if there's any of that retroactive. Can we look into that at some level? No, I really do think a current player at a university's ability to use their name, image, and likeness kind of in the marketplace will sort itself out. Like that is a fair, companies aren't going to overpay people because companies are always struggling to make it too. I was just doing some autograph signing stuff and the market's already for that, I think, sort of balancing it out. But to me, the biggest problem is when the NIL gets used for recruiting, and that's still a big violation.
Right.
Boosters or booster-led organizations are not supposed to be interacting with high school players, and then so that's a big no-no that I think really is going to be handled. It's got to be handled to keep it a level playing field. And then, the transfer portal piece with the NIL is really weird because then it's almost like if you're not happy somewhere, you can, so there's some things to be sorted out. But I'll say this, I think in the off season, a lot of us were really concerned at how much those discussions were going to negatively impact college football. And I still think there's conversation for that, but it was neat that once the season started, a really good focus came back to the game, players, and it's just been, I think, a wonderful college football season so far.
I think it has, and I think everything I'm hearing is it's not a problem in the locker room. It's not like guys are going, you need to get me the ball more because I have an NIL deal. You're not hearing that from everything I've heard.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, which is good. By the way, with your daughter, a freshman here at the University of Florida, that's got to be rough for her when she's sitting there and they go, Wuerffel, and people kind of look around, where's Wuerffel? Or it could be that you're so old nobody remembers you, and that's in school now. It's one or the other.
It's probably both. Actually, it's my son. My son is the freshman at
your
Florida.
son.
My daughter's,
that's right, yeah.
My daughter's 13. She's probably smart enough, mature enough to be there as well. But no, Jonah's there. We had a funny thing happen. So some of the listeners may be aware that the Florida Credit Union is hosting a Pet of the Month or Pet of the Game picture where you dress your dogs and your pets in Gator gear. So they had me take a picture with our two dogs kind of for some promotion. And apparently it's been placed in different places. And my son was walking through the Florida bookstore the other day, talking to me on the phone, and he saw his dogs on the picture, and he was just so excited to see his own dogs. He was a little homesick and saw his dogs there. And he said, yeah, I saw your picture. I know who you are. Nobody else does, but my dogs were there. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. But it is hard to believe that it's been 27 years now since the national
26
championship.
26 years since our senior season.
Yeah. But I mean, the memories, they're still there, right? I mean, what is the one thing you'll remember from that entire night? I mean, it could be a play, or it could be a moment with your coach, or it could be anything.
You're talking about the night of the national championship game?
Night of the national championship, yeah.
Oh, man. I remember it was kind of bittersweet. I was running around the field trying to find teammates to celebrate with. And people like you and others were chasing me around trying to get comments for the media stuff. And so it was like I finally found some people I was faster than, though, so that was nice. But that was a fun night to cap off a college career, that often seems to me like it didn't happen. It was such a magical 4 years, such a wonderful ending. Like, if you did just write a movie about it, most people wouldn't believe it ever happened, because it was so great.
It's kind of funny. The other day I was thinking about, what if Terry Dean didn't throw any interceptions against Kentucky in '93? Maybe Danny never gets a chance, you know? But, of course, when he threw 4, you threw 3 that night?
Yeah, I just, as long as I was one less, I might have a shot. Yeah, we threw 7 interceptions and still won a game, which is pretty remarkable. Yeah, there's several things. I mean, really, when you think about it, so many things could have happened at any point, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. And so I'm very mindful of that and feel very, very grateful.
You know, I was telling the story of the night of the Heisman when we crashed your party and Dave Sheinin sang "Oh Danny Boy" for you. I told that story a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how much you remember about that, but that was really a cool thing to have him singing that. And he was trained in opera, and it was very fun. Fun for us.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty cool moment. I mean, it was a journey for all of us that year, and to kind of be there in New York, celebrating this unique award. It's an individual award, but we all know it's a family, a team, and you guys were part of that, covering us, and that was a great moment.
All right, what do you think about this year's team in terms of offense and in terms of Anthony Richardson? I know that Anthony's kind of been through some ups and downs. Seems like maybe he's figuring things out, and you and Terry and everybody goes through struggles when you're finally given that starting role. Yeah,
I mean, it's such a interesting thing to have somebody so highly touted that hadn't played that much. You think back to maybe Tebow's years, but even then he got in a lot, and was developed kind of under Chris Leak, kind of in a sense. So I'm first of all just really, really excited about the program. I feel like Coach Napier was a fantastic hire. The culture that they're building, I've spent a lot more time around the program. That was with several players, and just really, really think the attention to detail, the things that he's doing, the staff that he's brought in is really going to be trending in a good direction. I think we have, a pretty depleted team in terms of depth of roster. So I think this year is not going to be a fantastic year, but as long as we're getting better and growing each week, I love it. And then back to Anthony. I mean, I think he's tremendously talented. I think he's finding sort of his groove and his niche. It's a new offense. It's just, I think had the expectations not been out the roof, we'd all just be thrilled to death. But there's a couple games there where we saw some things we were surprised to see. But like you said, you get that with some young guys. I think Coach Napier's done a fantastic job working with them. And I'm really, really looking forward to where this program's going.
I get to have Steve Spurrier on the show, on the podcast every Monday for 20 minutes, and that's pretty good. I will tell you, it never disappoints. But he and I have been talking a lot about, because I'm big into what plays you run for what, you put a guy in motion to find out what kind of defense they're in. But, when he talks to me about it, it really wasn't that complicated an offense you guys were running. It was just like, there were plays that will work against certain defense. If you identify the defense and throw it accurately, it'll be completed. And that was pretty much what it was, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think really that was there's kind of different ways you can do it. Like, you can have the perfect play against the defense that has a great chance, but if you guess wrong, you may have a play that has no chance. Or you can design different types of plays and systems that are decent against any defense, but not great against any one particular defense. And he was definitely kind of the first of that. And, the challenge was making sure he or the quarterback could really identify the defense that was going to be played to make sure you had the right pattern on, or if they're blitzing or not, type of thing. But I think, the game's evolved a good bit. And so I think there's some more challenges to that now than there were back in the 90s. But I look at stuff all the time when I'm watching football, and I can't believe what people are doing. I mean, they'll have an 8 or 9 man front to stop the run, and they're trying to run the ball. It's like, are you kidding me? Ike Hilliard wins for a touchdown 9 out of 10 times on that defense. Why wouldn't you do that every time? So anyway, it's fun to think about offensive football and fun to see how people are doing it.
Yeah, Steve has told me he'd run a different offense nowadays. The way football's set up, he would run a different. It would still be throwing the ball all over the place, but he'd run a different offense. Danny is joining us, of course, on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, and when I get to Big Mills Cheesesteak, you know what's coming. Yes, we have this little game we play where you answer 3 questions. Danny, it's called Yes, No Way, or Maybe. It is sponsored by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done right. If you go in there and say you listen to Another Dooley Noted Podcast, you get free fries with your order. We appreciate Big Mills. So are you ready for Yes, No Way, or Maybe?
Okay. Well, my wife would say you're going to get like 7 maybes in a row, but I'm going to try to do better than that.
All right, number 1. You know where your World Bowl 2000 MVP trophy is?
No way. I actually, I think it was a T-shirt. I don't think it was even a trophy. I think it's a T-shirt. So I don't know where it is, but the trophy, I don't think he even got one.
That would be some kind of presentation, and our MVP gets a T-shirt. I was wondering about that, whether you would actually get a trophy. Number 2, the jersey that is most prominently displayed in your house is a New Orleans Saints jersey.
No way. No way, because 1, if it were displayed, it would be a Gator. And 2, we don't have any jerseys displayed in our house. We had one thing displayed prominently was the Heisman Trophy, and now that place is empty because the trophy's somewhere near you over there.
I can see it. Yeah, it's right over
there. My daughter was asking me, when's that coming home?
Yeah, it's really cool that it's here, though, because, I know people go by and they go, whoa, look at this. Pretty exciting. Okay, finally, number 3 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. You will be nervous hosting Gator Growl.
Yes, I think anytime you get a chance to do something like that, I'll be a bit nervous. Anytime I speak, even if I've done it a bunch, there's a bit nervous. And, I think the biggest reason I'm nervous is I think I'm funny, but my kids are telling me all of my jokes now are dad jokes, which is like, well, maybe they're just the funniest jokes, but they don't think so. So then I thought maybe I would try to do some Flow Rida rap, and they said that would be worse. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. You have any advice, Pat?
Well, you need a team of writers, like 4 or 5 guys. Like if Jimmy Kimmel's hosting the Oscars, he's got a team of 4 or 5 writers to write good jokes for him.
All right. So, well, then I need 4 or 5 from you by tomorrow.
I'll give you one. How about
that? I need that. I asked Steve McLean to give me some stuff today, one of the athletic directors, but I better get some more help. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but it's exciting that you're doing that. One more time, go ahead and tell people how they can get involved with Desire Street and also how they can play in the Desire Cup.
Yeah, well, the easiest thing, if you go to just my name, the hardest part is spelling it, but DannyWuerffel.com will get you connected to Desire Street, Wuerffel Foundation, Wuerffel Trophy, all the different things that we're doing. And in particular, the event coming up at the end of October in a few weeks, Sea Island, Georgia, Florida versus Georgia Golf Extravaganza and Pickleball Tournament, DesireCup.com. And we'd love for people to still come, but then also if anybody could support the event, even if you can't be there, it would be fantastic. DesireCup.com.
It's funny, you mentioned spelling your name. It was pretty simple after a while, after you played so much for us media boys. But the Heisman guy mispronounced your name when he announced you as a winner. Danny Wuerffel. I'm like, who? Who won it?
Yep, that's been happening ever since, but all good.
All right, Danny, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back with more of Another Dooley Noted Podcast right after we take this break. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. This is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out. quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley's Story Time is brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of East Lake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about East Lake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150, and all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to Homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. You saw all those wonderful commercials. We appreciate our sponsors so much. And by the way, I was thinking about this. And maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I've been around for a long time. And I've been around Gainesville for a long time. The difference between 85 degrees and 95 degrees is the biggest difference of 10 degrees you could possibly have. And here's why. When it's 95, you don't want to go outside. You don't want to play a football game. When it's 85, it's fine. When it's 75, it's not really that much different. 85 feels like it's decent weather in Gainesville, nice weather. 95 never does. So my point is, I don't think Missouri is going to be worried. Missouri did fade a little bit in the fourth quarter of that game against Georgia, but I don't think that's going to play a factor here. It's going to be, I think the high is 87 maybe tomorrow for the game. All right, here we go. It is time for us to do our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. And again, as you know, we are pulling a winner on Monday. The winner of that will get a copy of my book, Game of My Life, which has been updated. I did the update recently, and I look forward, and I can sign it or not sign it. It's probably more valuable not signed by me. But, yeah, so I got 2 more chapters. And if you got the first copy of the book, there was another 2 chapters. I think it was Ahmad Black and somebody. I can't remember who it was. And then this time it's Major Wright and Steve Tannen, which is one of the more interesting chapters in the book. You get that. And, of course, $25 gift certificate from Leonardo. So we appreciate Kyle Cohen over there. This is your last chance to qualify, though. Don't set your watches back, guys. He goes, let them play at 11. We'll play at noon. And that's what I would do if I was Josh Heupel. In fact, when Josh was here for to win the Spurrier Award for first-year coaches, he might have told him that. So you got to get both of them right. Missouri getting 11 at Florida, Tennessee -3 at LSU. I'm not going to even advise you on where to go with either one of those. I have no idea what's going to happen in either one of those games. Kind of have an idea about the Tennessee game. All right, it is time for us to do our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the weekend. Or the week, I'm sorry. It's not the weekend yet. It's about to be the weekend. I know what my Saturday plan is. My Saturday plan is right before the Florida game. After I go to the gym, I will go there and get some Adams Ribco to Go. It's my favorite place to go in the world. All right, our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the week is Alex Brown. Alex is a good friend and has been on this show, and we'll probably have him again soon. But Alex, not only did he get to be Mr. Two Bits this year, which long overdue, but he is going to be Florida's SEC legend. When they always do that at the SEC championship game. They bring him out, everybody cheers. Sometimes they boo the Gators. But what a good – it's about time he got some of the recognition he's long deserves, and I personally think he should be in the Ring of Honor. He is the all-time sack leader, and he's had the record for a long time now. I think it's 21 years he's had the record. I don't know that anybody's going to break it. But Alex Brown, who I really like a lot, good guy, should be in the Ring of Honor, but he is going to be an SEC legend, and he was already Mr. Two Bits. That's a Quinella that's hard to beat that. I don't know that anybody else has ever done that, to be honest with you. Okay, it is time for Three Things, and Three Things, as always, is presented by Hesser Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. Number one, I know the playoffs are starting, and I know Ken is excited about that. His football team is undefeated, and his baseball team's in the playoffs. In fact, they may be playing right now. I think they are, actually. I don't know why I didn't write it down. Yeah, I did write it down. They are playing right now. Number one is that there are 2 Gators playing in postseason. There are 5 that are on postseason rosters. The only 2 that are playing are Pete Alonso and Harrison Bader, who's now a Yankee. He would have gotten in as a card either way. The other ones are Dalton Guthrie was called up too late to be on the roster. Zunino's hurt. Darren O'Day is hurt for the Braves. So there's 5 guys that are on there. It's surprising it's not more. There's so many Gator players in the big leagues now. But again, a lot of them it's because they had high draft picks and picked guys like Brady Singer and Alex Faedo, so those guys aren't going to make the playoffs. Anyway, that's number one. Number 2 is ESPN had a good story today about how they requested NIL deals. They want to know what everybody's saying we need to be more transparent. Nick Saban's one of the people who said that we need to be more transparent with this. And then when ESPN tried to get the details on it, most of them said, "No, we're not going to be transparent." Alabama being one of them. There were some information. Florida was another one that they asked. They asked, I think, 23 schools, most of them Power 5. Florida said, "No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to expose." But I agree with ESPN. I think things need to get transparent so we know exactly what's going on. In fact, Texas A&M did give them some information, but only after another newspaper in the state asked for it. We talk about all the NIL deals that, what they paid for it, what they paid for their team and everything for this recruiting class. They spent $3.2 million on NIL deals. Not the school, but that's what the what their Aggies Guard or Aggies Collective or whatever it is spent on it, which is a lot less than a lot of people thought. I still think there's got to be transparency here. We're never going to really get a handle on this. And finally, on the Hesser and Kipke 3 things, if you watched last night's game, you were not among a lot of people. I turned it on for a while. It was so bad. And then you know how it is with Prime Video, at least for me, you can't turn the channel. You've got to completely go off of it and then come back, and it takes 2.5 minutes to get back on. So I never went back to it. From everything everybody tells me, I saved my life by doing that. 12-9 in overtime, just an awful game. Russell Wilson, I don't know what they're doing with him. He never rolls out. He never has bootlegs. That's where a lot of his skill is. They're trying to make him just a drop-back quarterback, but whatever. I didn't want to watch the game anyway that much, but it was the only game on because there was no college game. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Oh, by the way, this is still part of the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Somebody had this tweet, and I assume it's true, but it may not be. Who knows? What Amazon paid for Prime Video to get the NFL games, if you extrapolate it down to for a 1 game per game this year, they're paying $78 million per game. They paid $78 million for that mess last night. All right, it is time to do our Gainesville Quarterback Club games of the weekend. Todd Golden was great Tuesday. This week they have Darinoka. Look forward to that very much. We all know Missouri, Florida is a noon game. ESPNU is where it's going to be, just if you weren't sure where it was going to be. That is our that is our Florida game. We always do different games. The state game, North Carolina at Miami. Miami's a 3-point favorite. That's a 4 p.m. game on ESPN2 if you want to watch 2 teams that don't play very good defense. The SEC game is obviously Tennessee at LSU. I can't wait for that game. I think it's going to be fascinating. Tennessee, as I said, 3-point favorite. ESPN at noon. And then the national game, to me, is Utah at UCLA. Utah is giving 3.5 points on the road. It's 11 versus 18, and that game is on Fox. It is at 3:30. See, again, the night games aren't that great. It's almost like they've given up on really good night games. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Also, I did want to mention that the Philadelphia Phillies play at St. Louis Saturday, and then Sundays I would be a home game if necessary. Those are 8:30 games. I wanted to say that for Ken. Also, I did want to mention this. They have trips available with the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Sorry, I blanked out for a minute. There are trips available still to go to Nashville, to go to Jacksonville, if you want to get in charge, I thought I had, yeah, here it is. Bill Strawn told me about that they still have a few spots open, and it is lovegators2@aol.com, or you can call him at, here it is, 352-359-0300 if you're interested in going on one of those trips. Okay, let us get to this, that, and the other. Brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, by Ironwood Golf Course, and by Darshackow Insurance. We appreciate those sponsors. This is that Tyron Hopper was a pretty good player for Florida last year. And in the Missouri game, he was unbelievable. He had 12 tackles in that game. They were raving about him, and they felt like he was really going to make a big step this year. And, of course, when Ventrell Miller, when Ventrell Miller decided to come back for this year, he said, I really need to go somewhere where I'm going to play more. I'm a middle linebacker. So he decided to go to Missouri. He wanted to transfer there because his brother was transferring there, not Tyrone. I don't even know for sure if it's Tyrone or Tyrone, but his brother's name's Tyrone. So I don't know that makes it even more confusing. He was a North Carolina player who transferred defensive lineman, so they wanted to play together. The other is that he's the guy you got to worry about defensively. He is really playing well. He's the biggest concern for Florida defensively. He can blitz. He's a really good run tackler. They're going to have to find ways to block him. That's this, that, and the other, and it's going to be interesting. When he left, I remember thinking, well, yeah, he's a good player, but it's not that big a deal. I'll probably change my attitude about that on Saturday. We'll see what happens. Finally, it is time for Pat Dooley's Story Time. It is brought to you by the great people at Eastlake Pediatrics. I was in contact with Mike down there, and everything's fine with them, obviously in Hillsborough County, but we were just going back and forth about that. Anyway, I'm running so late, but I'm going to get to the story. Okay, so I like to buy T-shirts for whoever beats two teams, Florida State in football, sometimes in basketball, and Kentucky in basketball. All right, and the reason I bought them is because I couldn't wear Florida stuff for so long. And now I can wear it if I want to because I don't work for a newspaper. But so I have a bunch of shirts, and one of them I bought was a game, I think it was like in 2013 or so. I can't remember what year it was. And it was an NC State shirt. So I bought it because NC State beat Florida. It was a huge upset. And I was so happy. So I bought it, and I tried it on, and, again, I was a little bit bigger at the time, but it didn't fit. It was an XL instead of a 2XL, which I needed at the time. I can get into an XL now. So anyway, I wasted money, and I said, no, you know who? I should take it up to Nashville. We're going to Nashville the next Saturday and give it to Robbie's brother, Tim, a very thin guy. It'll fit him perfectly. So I did. I gave it to him. He loved it because he was now an NC State fan because they'd beaten. He is the king of negative rooting, believe me. So that night we went out on the streets on Broadway in Nashville, and Tim Andrew was the most popular guy there because Gator fans were everywhere. And literally they would come up to him, slap him on the back, and go, hey, man, we love your team. Gator fans were so into that loss. And Tim Andrew never paid for a drink that night. Everywhere he went. So I got this round. Man, I love you. And do you live in Raleigh? Yeah, sure I do. Anyway, it's a funny story. All right, we got to get out of here. We're running way late. I'm sorry for that. Tammy and Jason, my man Jason, for doing a great job again today. We'll be back Monday with Coach Spurrier. It'll be interesting. It'll be a very interesting Monday to see what happened all over college football, but of course, especially with the Florida-Missouri game. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.